I'm 68, not helpless. Here's how I stayed in control of my life. Have you ever been in a conversation with your adult kids and suddenly realized they're speaking to you like you're the child? Maybe it starts out simple. They offer to help pay your bills online or suggest moving to a smaller place for your own good. Before long, they're calling during every meal, double-checking your prescriptions, even reminding you to put on your sweater. And while some of it comes from love, there's a moment when you quietly wonder, when did I stop being the parent? If you felt that shift, you are not alone. More and more folks at after 60 are realizing that while their kids mean well, they can sometimes overstep, taking over decisions, routines, and even independence. It's not out of malice. In fact, most of the time it's out of genuine care. But here's the truth. Growing older doesn't mean giving up control. You've earned your experience, your freedom, and your voice. And it's not only okay to protect it, it's essential for your happiness, health, and sense of self. So today, let's talk heart to heart, not about how to argue or resist your kids, but how to stay in control with grace, strength, and love intact. In this video, we'll go over 4 powerful ways you can maintain your independence, set gentle boundaries, and keep living life on your own terms. Let's start with something that might surprise you. It begins with reclaiming your role as the decision maker. Now, this doesn't mean shutting your kids out or refusing help. Far from it. It simply means staying at the center of your own life. You've likely spent decades guiding others, raising kids, managing households, working while building communities. That leadership, it doesn't expire at 60. If anything, now's the time to own it even more. Let me share a quick story. A woman named Margaret, 72, told me about how her daughter had started managing her calendar. It began with reminders for doctor appointments, but soon expanded to booking social outings without asking. One day, Margaret found herself going to a brunch she had no interest in, just to keep the peace. That was her turning point. She gently pulled her daughter aside and said, "Sweetheart, I love how much you care, but I'd like to plan my own time because I still know what I enjoy and I want to make space for those things." The result? Her daughter felt relieved. You see, sometimes your kids aren't trying to take over. They're reacting to uncertainty. When you show confidence in your choices, they often step back naturally. So take control of your calendar. Make plans you're excited about. Say no when something doesn't feel right. It's not about confrontation, it's about clarity. That brings us to something even deeper. Your right to say no without guilt. We were raised in a generation where saying no felt like letting someone down, especially when it comes to our children. But here's the thing. Boundaries are not walls, they're bridges. They help you stay connected without feeling overrun. Let's say your son insists on dropping by 3 times a week to check in. It's sweet, but what if you're tired that day? Or maybe you had plans with a friend. You have every right to say, "I love seeing you, but let's plan for Saturday instead. I've got something that brings me joy on Thursday." That might feel uncomfortable at first, but over time, it builds respect. You're showing them that your time, your peace, your preferences, they matter. And when you stand by your boundaries with kindness, you teach your family how to honor them too. It might even surprise you how empowering it feels. I've heard from people who, after setting their first boundary in years, felt a new spark, like they'd taken back a piece of themselves that had slowly faded. So don't wait for a meltdown. Practice saying no in small ways. Skip the visit if you need rest. Decline help you didn't ask for. Trust your instincts, because staying in control doesn't mean doing everything alone. It means choosing how, when, and if you want help. And speaking of help, sometimes the key to staying in control is knowing when to ask for it, on your terms. But we'll explore that more in a moment. Now that we've touched on reclaiming your role and setting healthy boundaries, let's keep going with something just as powerful. How to communicate your confidence without conflict. See, here's the tricky part. Your kids may not even realize they're overstepping. To them, they're just being supportive. But if you don't speak up clearly, calmly, and early, they might keep tightening the reins without ever noticing how it makes you feel. That's where communication becomes your superpower. It's not about snapping or making accusations. It's about showing that you're still the pilot of your own plane while also appreciating their support as your co-pilot, not your captain. Let's paint a picture. Say your daughter comes over and says, "Mom, I've decided you're not driving us anymore. I'll take you everywhere from now on." Now, maybe you've had a fender bender recently, or she just worries about the traffic. Her heart's in the right place. But her words, they take away your choice. In a moment like that, instead of getting defensive or shutting down, try this approach. "I know you're worried because you love me, and I'm grateful you care, but I'd like to be involved in that decision. I'll talk to my doctor about how I'm doing behind the wheel, and if there's ever a real concern, we'll make a plan together." Boom. Respectful, firm, calm, and most importantly, it keeps you in the driver's seat, both literally and figuratively. It's okay to remind your family that being over 60 doesn't mean being incapable. You've built a life full of lessons, strength, and resilience. You've handled crises, raised kids, paid bills, built careers. That wisdom doesn't evaporate because your hair turns silver. And when you speak with calm confidence, it reminds everyone, your kids included, that you're still the steady hand at the wheel. But let's be honest, some days even the steadiest hands get tired. And that's where another kind of strength comes in, choosing your help before it's chosen for you. It might sound counterintuitive. After all, if the whole goal is staying independent, why talk about asking for help? Because here's the secret. Independence doesn't mean isolation. It means autonomy. It means you decide what support looks like. When you choose your help instead of waiting until someone else steps in to take over, you stay in control of the narrative. Think of it like this. If you plan ahead for things like grocery delivery, tech help, or managing your medications, you're making empowered decisions. You're not being taken care of, you're being smart. You're setting yourself up for success on your own terms. Let's take John, a 68-year-old widower who realized he was struggling to keep up with yard work after his knees started acting up. Instead of waiting for his son to step in and hire a landscaping service behind his back, John made a plan. He asked a neighbor's teenager to help out twice a month, gave him a fair wage, and even shared lemonade afterward to catch up. Now, John isn't just getting help, he's mentoring, building relationships, and staying in charge of his life. That's what smart independence looks like. You don't have to do everything yourself. You just have to lead the process. And that brings us to something equally important, but often overlooked: protecting your financial freedom. Now, this isn't about mistrust. It's about boundaries. Money is one of the easiest ways to lose control if you're not careful, especially when adult kids get involved in managing accounts, setting budgets, or pushing decisions for your own good. If your kids have ever suggested things like consolidating your bank accounts, handling your bills, or just letting me manage it all, you might have felt that little internal tug, like something was slipping through your fingers. That feeling matters. Don't ignore it. Here's a simple truth. You don't have to hand over control to feel supported. If you want help, bring in a neutral third party like a financial advisor. Someone you choose, someone who's on your side with your goals in mind. That way, decisions don't get tangled in emotions or family dynamics. And don't be afraid to keep things private. It's perfectly okay to say, "I've got my finances handled, but I'll reach out if I ever need input." That's not secretive, that's healthy. You are still the CEO of your own life, and your bank account is part of that office. Of course, money isn't the only area where boundaries matter. This whole conversation comes down to one thing: ownership of your life story. You're not in the background. You're not a supporting character in someone else's plan. You're the author. And every choice you make to speak up, to plan ahead, to protect your space, it's like picking up the pen and saying, "I'm still writing this chapter." It's not about fighting for power. It's about holding on to your peace. So as we keep moving forward, keep this close to heart. Your kids may mean well, and that's beautiful. But love and control are not the same thing. When you set the tone with grace and confidence, you teach your family something powerful. You teach them how to love you without managing you. Let's keep building on that strength, because the next step is all about continuing to grow, stay sharp, and enjoy life fully and freely as you deserve. And here's something many people don't talk about enough: the power of staying mentally and socially active. Not just to pass time, but to lead your time. See, when others start taking over, making your appointments, picking your meals, organizing your schedule, life can slowly shrink. It gets smaller without you even noticing. Days become a series of plans made for you, not by you. That's when you start to feel less like the main character in your life and more like a guest in your own routine. But you can flip that, and you don't need anyone's permission to do it. Start by choosing activities that light you up, ones that belong only to you. Maybe it's taking a painting class, learning Tai Chi, or joining a community garden. Maybe it's hosting a weekly book club, starting a blog, or finally writing that family cookbook. These aren't just hobbies. They're signals to the world and to yourself that your voice, your time, your joy still matter. I met a gentleman named Robert, 74, who decided to take up photography last year, not because anyone told him to, but because he wanted to capture the beauty he saw on his daily walks. His kids were skeptical at first. "Why spend money on a fancy camera?" they asked. But a few months later, those same kids were proudly sharing his photos on Facebook, amazed by what he'd created. Robert didn't wait for approval. He followed what felt right. And in doing so, he reclaimed a part of himself that had been on the back burner for years. It's not about the camera, it's about the choice. That's the final and perhaps most important way to stay in control after 60. By continuing to choose your life instead of letting others choose it for you. Let's not sugarcoat it. Aging does bring changes. There are aches we didn't used to have, names we forget for a moment, and yes, sometimes slower steps. But you are not defined by what changes. You're defined by what you choose to do with those changes. And the more choices you make with intention, the more you stay connected to the life you've built. That might mean revisiting old dreams. Remember that trip you always wanted to take but kept putting off because the kids were young or the bills were due? Maybe now's the time to plan it. Or maybe it means learning new things because you're never too old to grow, taking a class, picking up a new language, learning how to edit videos. Why not? Every decision you make for yourself is a reminder to you and to everyone around you that you're still here to live, not just to be looked after. And don't forget the small, everyday decisions. What you wear, what you eat, what music plays while you clean the house. They seem simple, but they add up. They create the rhythm of a life that is still yours. Sometimes people give up control, not because it's taken, but because they forget they still have it. So consider this your reminder. You have it. You don't have to go along with every plan someone else makes. You don't have to agree to every suggestion, even if it comes with a smile. You are still the one who gets to say, "Yes, that sounds great," or "No, thumbs, that's not for me." And when your family sees you making those calls, when they see you setting your own pace, protecting your space, and staying active in your choices, they'll learn something important. They'll learn that love isn't about stepping in and taking over. It's about stepping with you at your side. So let's take a breath together. You're not just aging, you're evolving. This chapter of your life isn't a time to fade. It's a time to focus on freedom, on meaning, on you. Your kids might mean well, and it's a beautiful thing to be loved. But love should feel like a warm arm around your shoulders, not a hand pulling the steering wheel. So guide the love. Show them how to support you in the way that lifts you up, not holds you back. Because at the end of the day, the best gift you can give yourself and your family is the example of a life lived with intention, confidence, and joy. You've spent years supporting others. Now it's your turn to stand firm in what you need, what you want, and who you are. If this message resonated with you, I'd love to hear your story in the comments. Have your kids tried to take over in ways that didn't sit right? Or maybe you've found graceful ways to keep your independence while staying close. Share your wisdom. It could help someone else who's feeling the same way. And if this video gave you something to think about, something to smile about, or something to act on, go ahead and click that like button. It really helps the channel grow and reach others just like you. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss out on more videos made with your journey in mind. Here's to you, still writing your story, still calling the shots, and still living life on your own beautiful terms. Until next time, take care of yourself. And don't forget, you are still the boss of you.